wonder your thoughts, if I may, on the fact that people are anxious about speaking out to criticise the government because they don't want to end up in jail.
Okay, emotions are obviously very, very high. People are in desperate shock. And of course, they're raising questions about an area that is in an earthquake zone that's been known for many, many years. But clearly, when you look at the scale of what has happened, the biblical proportions of the amount of people involved, and also that the infrastructure has been so damaged that the ability to get to people has been hampered. What we're seeing, I think, on our TV screens is absolutely heartrending and heartbreaking, and the international community has got to do all that it can now to gather around Turkey and make sure that we are with the country, not just in these next few days, but for weeks and months ahead.
Your shadow foreign secretary at the moment, if you were foreign secretary, potentially when you're foreign secretary, what would you be saying to a government that has made its people so terrified of being locked up that they won't speak out, even though no equipment is coming to get their loved ones from under this rubble? Many people have been arrested and are now being put on trial for, they say, trying to get aid to areas of the country that is not being helped by the military.
Well, look, I'm hearing the reports that are coming through, and I recognise that there have been issues raised about the nature of democracy in Turkey over many, many years. And indeed, I've raised these issues in Parliament in the past. Today, the issue is still about saving the lives that remain. Tomorrow and next week, it's about the bitter temperatures and how you house, clothe and feed people going ahead. And then it's about the reconstruction efforts. So, yes, there are questions about the nature of how democracy works in Turkey. Those are questions that will come up this year because it's an election year in that country. But my principal concern must be the humanitarian effort that must take place. And I say that because I represent in my own constituency one of the largest Turkish-speaking populations in the United Kingdom, where people are still traumatized and worried about the scale of damage and still are waiting for news of their loved ones.
What more can we do to help those in Syria?
There's a debt campaign today. It's open. You can give funds and our government will match those funds, and that's the right thing to do. And there will be more coming as the UN and the whole arsenal of support across the global community come together. It's very likely that we will see the numbers of those dying rise. And of course, next door in Syria, it's much harder to get the news. And very, very sadly, the infrastructure there, because of the conflict that's gone on for so many, many years, will have been even worse. So this is a major biblical catastrophe, and the global community has to stand with the people of Turkey and Syria, notwithstanding some of the challenging politics of the region.
Looking at these images and the desperate scenes of those that have lost loved ones here, many, many people still trapped beneath this wreckage. A situation that I have witnessed in Ukraine recently, as well, as missiles continue to rain down on apartment blocks there as a result of the war with Russia. We saw President Zelenskyy yesterday addressing Parliament in Westminster Hall, both houses, of course. He wants jets. Should we give them to him?
Well, look, I think that we must be serious when we say that Ukraine must prevail. So the call for jets is not a new call, it's an old call. The question for the international community at this point is not to do anything that is offensive rather than defensive and would see jets used in Russian airspace itself. And those guarantees will have to be assured. This has got to be an allied response across the NATO family. The request at the moment is for F-16s. We here in the UK predominantly have Typhoons and F-35s. And of course, there's the issue of training. We're already training pilots. That must be right. I think Rishi Sunak is correct to say that nothing is off the table. And what will take place over the coming days, I suspect, and weeks, is very coordinated action across the NATO community.
I think it was a yes or no answer, actually, Mr. Lammy. Does Labour think that President Zelenskyy should he be getting the jets that he's asking for?
Look, I think that I want to see Ukraine prevail, but let me be clear, as the official opposition, this is not a moment for a lack of consensus in Parliament. What we saw in yesterday was the shared consensus that Labour has forged with the government and across actually all opposition parties. I haven't got access to the information that the Prime Minister and the Defence Secretary will have. I'm not privy to the conversations that they'll be having with other NATO allies. And so this must rightly be a judgment for them to make. But I support them in that difficult balance between ensuring that we have the best defensive posture, but that we are not using weapons offensively and seeing an escalation in this war and in this conflict.
It's always good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us this morning
very much,
on The Breakfast
Kate.
Show on Sky. Thank you.